This Week in Radio Tech, episode 172, is brought to you by the Telos Z IP audio codec. Send linear or compressed audio over IP radios, private IP links, or the public internet. Great for remotes, STL, and backhaul. On the web at telos-systems.com.
And now, our feature presentation.
Twert.
Sinclair saves dielectric. Who saw that coming? LPFM filing news, and we get an inside look at building a national production studio.
All right, calm down. He says that to everyone.
This calls for immediate discussion.
What's up, Doc?
All your days are belong to us.
From his palatial office of important business,
or in a choice hotel in a distant land.
This is Kirk Harnack.
Tom Ray and Chris Tobin join me to dish on this week's news, and Gary Klein gives us a mid-construction tour of Nash in Nashville.
You're dialed in to This Week in Radio Tech.
Hey, it's time for This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to try to give you the best hour we can. We're a bunch of engineers that get together and talk every week about radio technology. And, you know, sometimes we give our opinions. Well, almost all the time we give our opinions. And sometimes we're very opinionated. Sometimes we do some real teaching. We teach you how to do certain things in broadcast engineering, what some of the fundamentals and basics are. Hopefully we don't lead you astray. We lead you down the correct path to enlightenment and happy broadcast engineering. As usual, I have a couple of co-hosts along with me to help me make the show move along. First of all, let's check out in studio the best-dressed engineer in radio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Tobin at the GFQ Studios. Hey, Chris.
Live on location here at the HQ, GFQ Network Studios, yes. Having a good time. It's somewhat toasty. We've had an air conditioning failure, but we're okay. Got a circulating fan on the ceiling, and things are going well.
All right. You often give us a weather report.
Well, weather-wise, outside, it's great. Temperatures here in the
great.
New York City area are great. It's just in the studio.
It's just hot with all that equipment. All that equipment that
all the lights. We're up for our close-ups here. It's just the lighting.
Oh, gee whiz. Well, Chris, your qualifications to talk with us on the show are you've been an engineer for years and years and years,
yes.
And now you run a company that makes audio and video codecs.
Yes, we do. Yes, musichamusa.com is the website, and I've been doing radio and with some television involved as well for probably over 30 years now. It's been a long time. It's actually a lot of fun.
Oh, my God.
And I've traveled the globe working with several news agencies as well, doing technology and getting connections from the remote location back for audiences to hear everything.
I got this feeling you're about as old as I am.
I just look at it as a number. I'm still running around. I'm out late drinking. I'm still, doing stuff. So, you know what? As far as I'm concerned, I'm still 21.
I had my post-show drink before the show, so I'm feeling fine.
Yeah, well, we'll be off the press 195 shortly after.
Our other co-host on the show right now with us is Tom Ray from the Hudson Valley of New York. Tom, welcome in from your ham shack.
Hey, Kirk, and I like to act like I'm 21, and I usually pay for it but dearly the next day. Fancy meeting Chris here because we met up in the city today.
Yes, that's what I heard. Let's get right on to dishing about that. Our show is brought to you by Telos and the Telos Z. They're my employer, and I thank them so much for sponsoring the show. It makes something that we're all passionate about, and that is, telling other folks about what we're excited about, broadcast engineering, how to do things, hearing from listeners and viewers about what some of the techniques that they've learned, and so it's just great that Telos helps make the show possible for us to distribute it, for us to be on the GFQ network. And also thank the GFQ network for their help on putting the show together, too. So, Tom and
yes.
Chris, you guys had a date today, a blind date with each other. What was that about?
Yes, the Harris seminar was in town, and I don't think Chris saw me walk into the room behind him as Jeff Mendenhall was up there doing his thing, and I sat down, and I picked up, they had his bowl of mints, and I picked up a mint and chucked it right at Chris's head.
It was like a scene out of a college fraternity,
He turned around, the look on his face, and all of a sudden he realized who it was, and this big grin showed up.
Well, you have to remember, Tom, that the person sitting to your right behind me was Brian Sizik, who's the sales rep for Harris. So I'm thinking to myself, I know he could be somewhat of a playful individual, but I didn't expect him to do that. Then when I turned around, and so I was like, aha, that game is afoot. Now we're going to have some fun.
And the funny thing was, Jeff Mendenhall was up there. He didn't miss a beat. He just went, "Oh, Tom Ray's here. Hi, Tom," and just kept going.
Yes, it was excellent.
Yes, when Tom Ray walks in the room, hilarity ensues and mints fly through the air. So, on a serious note, then, I take it this wasn't actually a date; it was a function that Harris put on, and Jeff Mendenhall was there. Now he no longer works full time for Harris, so I'm a little confused. What was this thing all about?
Well, there was a little conversation about the what they're doing new with HD radio and transmitters and their transmitter technology and synchronous booster FM transmitters, and they talked a little bit about how they handle their IP audio on their console series, and they not really introduced, but showed us a new 950 microwave link they have, and the new Interplex IP audio delivery system for STL, and it was just it was a fun 4 hours.
Yeah, Jeff was talking about, he presented two different, papers you can call them, or presentations. One of them was on their transmission systems and where the technology is going there. And then second one was on total cost of ownership of a transmission facility and the stuff that can get you without realizing it. And it was actually very interesting, some of the stuff he talked about. Water-cooled transmitters or air-cooled, depending, the pros and cons. And how in Europe, water-cooled is pretty much standard, and that high-level HVAC is not permitted in most facilities, and very tight restrictions on how much heat can come out of the boxes. It's pretty cool. And then Joe Marshall, who was there from the audio products side, as Tom pointed out, was talking about their Interplex products, their Vistamax, Oasis, which is the consoles and stuff, and talking about how they approach console design, implementation, studio audio routing, mentioning their methodologies and how they believe it works and works best and is a good fit for the workflow in broadcast radio. So it was interesting. And then we veered off that and just talked about technologies in general. And then we also had, what was his name? John Keane, NPR Labs, was there to talk about, as Tom mentioned, the geocasting, or the MaxCast, I think is the brand name by Harris, but putting in boosters, what we would traditionally call an FM booster, and a supplement or augment your signal within your legal parameters. So we're not talking about outside of the city grade signal, but within it and within your 65 dBu contour, 60 dBu contour. So it was pretty cool. It was a really good time. So if you missed it, they'll be in, I think, Philadelphia next or something like that, and then they're off a couple other places. But it was well worth it. It was a great day to be out, catch up with folks, and just the opportunity to have John Keane, Joe Marshall, even Jeff Mendenhall, and be able to sit there in front of them, talk to them face to face during and after is just an opportunity you do not get often, and definitely take advantage of it.
Cool. Is Harris doing this program in a number of different cities?
Yes. Yes, I just couldn't tell you all the cities. I know they're off. Yeah, like 3 or 4 more they're going to, but I think Philadelphia was one of them.
I think a couple of days ago they were up in Boston. I know yesterday they were up in or the day before they were up in Hartford.
Yes,
so.
the last couple of days was Hartford and Boston. Yes.
Yep. So they're kind of working. I don't know if they're working across the country, but they're working around a lot of cities. So you might want to call your Harris rep if you'd like to go. But they tend to call their customers. I mean, I found out by having getting an email from Brian. So.
I think Harris has advertised this also on some websites and in Radio World. Seems like I saw an ad. By the way, let me back up. Chris, did you mention the name of John Keane from NPR?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I got to meet John. He heads up the NPR Labs division, where they do testing for NPR, but they'll also do testing on a contract basis for other companies, firms, concerns. Yeah.
Yes, they were contracted to do work with Geo Broadcast Solutions. That's the company, the group, Geo Broadcast Group of Solutions. They're the group that are proposing this FM booster type approach, and MaxCast, I believe, is what Harris has that can make it happen. And NPR Labs was hired to talk about the technology, prove it out, and I believe they have their first market going online in a month or so, or maybe it's already online in Denver. That's 4. They have 4 booster stations they're putting on with the Class C, I think it's a Class C FM, which is far enough out of the listening area that the weak signal in the area they want to reach would be a perfect complement to this booster setup. So you're not having competing signals on a high RF level. It's an interesting technology. It's an interesting implementation of the technology, and if you really sit down and take it apart and read it thoroughly, I see. I mean, from a business standpoint, I'm a radio station that I'm trying to reach. I want to saturate my marketplace. I'd definitely consider investing in it. Looking into it and making something of it.
And I have a customer
Yep.
that, I started talking to them about it for my customer because it would be perfect to solve a couple of problems they have, if this works. So, we'll see. If it looks like we're going to do something, it'll be an interesting topic to talk about on Tort.
It will be. We have several interesting topics I want to hit on here quickly. One of them is, we heard that the antenna company, Dielectric, was going to shut down. And they averted a shutdown because they were purchased by, of all people, the Sinclair Broadcast Group, who's mostly a television broadcaster. Story from Radio World, FM transmission equipment is definitely part of Sinclair's plans for Dielectric going forward. That's according to Sinclair Broadcast Group, which Tuesday morning announced an agreement to purchase the assets of transmission equipment manufacturer Dielectric. Previously, the current owner, SPX, had said it would close down Dielectric and focus on its other businesses. Now, when I first heard this, I thought, I wonder if that's because maybe Sinclair Television owns a lot of dielectric antennas, and they want to have a sure source of maintaining those for a good couple of decades or so. And I just read today, I don't know if it's in this article, it doesn't appear to be, just read today, though, maybe on a business magazine, that, they do. They have about 100 dielectric antennas. Chris, Tom, what do you guys hear or know about that situation?
Well, Dielectric, their top market customer base is television. Tom Silliman from ERI mentioned it, and they are the top dog. They have the most, I think, UHF. What do they call them? Stackable UHF antennas and stuff. So that would make sense if Sinclair's got 100 plus or 100 so. That would make sense for them to do that because that's a huge investment. You just have to try and it probably costs more to replace than it would be to buy the company.
Yeah, well, seems like I heard a figure of they bought the company for something like $5 million plus take on the debt, and some folks have said, well, that's their real expense is taking on the debt that they may have. At least one Wall Street analyst likes the deal. He's Wells Fargo analyst Marcy Ryvicker characterizes the purchase as an insurance policy for television, noting that because Dielectric provided so much TV transmission gear, losing that as an option would have forced TV stations to turn to alternative, perhaps foreign-based suppliers, and that would mean replacing equipment would have been much more expensive in terms of pure cost and revenue to longer repair times, according to that analyst. Now, that doesn't sound 100% right to me, but you kind of see where she's going with that. If Marcy is a female,
Marcy is a female.
Yeah,
she is.
Yeah. Okay. You know Marcy?
I've met her at a couple of Radio Inc. What do you call it? Seminars. She's good.
Yeah.
She's well informed when it comes to media, the broadcast. She's got some interesting opinions, and they're valid.
Are other antenna options foreign?
Probably, because I don't think does he does he do many TV installs, and he's pretty much radio.
Boy, I don't know.
Because I know they have a TV antenna, but I'm not sure if they're saturating the market. I know Dielectric has been television for a long time.
Well,
there's
Dielectric,
Jampro does plenty of TV.
And Jampro, but I don't think they have the reputation, the design. There was something about the Dielectric antennas that... that's what set them apart. That's why I think they were so popular.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, foreign, there's several TV antenna manufacturers of Israel and I think Italy. There's some big ones. And France? No, Germany.
She goes on to say that the announcement is a positive, industry-friendly move that could provide significant benefits for Sinclair in the long run. The one benefit would be if the FCC's proposed TV spectrum repacking actually occurs. That there's going to be more need for more antennas, and Sinclair owning what is the premier TV antenna manufacturer could be very good. Good for Sinclair and good for the TV industry that there's a U.S. supplier.
It'll be interesting to watch how it rolls out.
All right. Saw a post on Facebook this week from our friend, who's been on the show a few times, Scott Feibush. Scott paid a visit to the site of the new Major Armstrong plaque that was unveiled. So it took nearly 60 years after his death, but the inventor of FM radio is finally being recognized on the street where he lived. Last Monday, officials in Yonkers, New York, joined with radio enthusiasts and history buffs to unveil a plaque honoring Major Edwin Howard Armstrong's accomplishments. Now, the bronze plaque in the Hudson Fulton Park is just a block away from the site of Armstrong's home on Warburton Avenue. It overlooks the Hudson River and the unique three-armed tower that Armstrong built in Alpine, New Jersey back in 1937 and 38. Now, that plaque was the brainchild of Steve Close, a New Jersey resident who learned of Armstrong because of their shared interest in fast motorcycles. Close became fascinated by Armstrong's story and ended up leading a fundraising campaign that generated over $4,000 in contributions to pay for that plaque. At the Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano and several city council members were on hand for Monday's ceremony, joined by two Armstrong descendants. The ceremony was broadcast live on WA2XMN, the experimental Armstrong Memorial Station that transmits on Armstrong's old frequency of 42.8 megahertz. Probably not too many cars were tuned into that, but that's coming from the tower.
That's a beautiful transmitter. That transmitter is a recreation of what the transmitter was. It is a gorgeous job. Steve Hemphill put the thing together, and it was absolutely fantastic.
It's an excellent recreation.
Wasn't that transmitter shown off, or at least pictures of it shown at an NAB show a couple of years ago?
Probably was, and along with a I can't remember. It'll probably come to Chris. The type of tube used for the modulation.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I forget now, but I know what you're saying. I know.
Yeah, and Phasotron.
Phasotron tube. Yes.
Yeah, because they rebuilt the exciter. An original exciter to run on that frequency with the original Phasotron tube, which is how they used to do FM modulation. But boy, I tell you, if you've never been up to, if you've never seen the tower, I mean, Chris and I have both stood next to the thing. I mean, this thing, it's unbelievable. It is massive. And they have the W2XMN building is still there. They have a small museum down there, and they have some pretty cool pictures. Like they used to have this steel sphere on top. And Armstrong used to go up and stand on the sphere. Why? With no safety cable. One time he did it apparently to impress Sarnoff's secretary, and they ended up getting married.
Okay.
Come on. But and also something a lot of people don't realize, if you look at the site now, you'll see a second tower there, and that tower has always been there. And you'll also see a Doppler radar dome on that dish now. During World War II, that tower was actually put up by the government asked Armstrong to put it up, and that was radar for early defense for an aircraft attack on the New York City area. So
that tower from a distance, that tower looks like a high voltage transmission tower, right? That carries three-phase power across the country, high voltage transmission tower. But you're saying it's actually massive, so it's much bigger than a high voltage transmission tower, isn't it?
Much bigger. And there are two-way antennas, there are FM antennas. I don't know if any TVs still have a backup up there, but after 9/11, several TV stations had backups up there. The FMs up there are actually backups, and the tower is massive. And the ironic thing, after 9/11, Armstrong committed suicide, and part of the reason was that he was having a fight with Sarnoff over television, and over FM being used as television, because Sarnoff wanted to use AM for the audio modulation, and here it was after 9/11, and Armstrong's tower now had television backup on it. So it was in a way it was ironic, but it was a fitting tribute to the man, because he ultimately won.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's a lot more to know about Armstrong, and I've talked to a few people who say that they've studied his life, and the more they find out about him, the more they're just amazed by him. He has a number of patents, and I think they were mentioned on the plaque. I read that the other day. I don't have them handy right here. Got to move on. Next subject. Folks who like LPFM, low power FM, they're happy. Why are they happy? Well, the FCC announced a filing window for new station applications for LPFMs. The Prometheus Radio Project said the news is long awaited. For the first time, low-power radio will be possible in cities like Miami, Houston, and Philadelphia. That's according to Prometheus Policy Director Brandy Doyle. Let's see. There is a new something online. It's a zip code check tool to help you find an open frequency. I've not used that tool. Going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to do a quick search. It is at, you have to go to Prometheus, and I'm not going to spell that for you, prometheusradio.org, zip code check. I'm going to put my zip code in here, 37215.
It should be out of Philadelphia, I think.
Say what?
Aren't they out of Philadelphia, the Prometheus Project folks?
They might be. I could go look and find their address. For Nashville, by the way, they say yes. They kind of equivocate here. Yes, there may be room for as many as 1 new community radio stations in Nashville. With the special waiver of the FCC rules, there could be as many as 13 more channels available.
And yes, they are in Philadelphia.
Okay. All right. Interestingly, that they do list here nearby LPFM stations in case you want to, see what one is like, and they list WRFN-LP, which I've been there. I was there a couple of months ago to check out their studio and see they actually they have an Omnia 3 processor on their low power FM. So good for them. Guys, a lot of folks in full-time, full-power radio engineering kind of poo-poo LPFM. Others are supporters of it. I don't really care a whole lot one way or another. I do think that LPFMs need to follow the same rules as full-power FMs. They too can enjoy the incredibly high costs of running a radio station without getting yourselves in trouble. Got any comments on the filing window that's opening up?
No, I mean, filing window's fine. I think I would agree with you as far as the rules of the game. They need to abide by the same stuff. Otherwise, they're going to get into trouble like everybody else does.
Tom is very quiet.
He's thinking about what he's going to say.
That's because I'm contemplating and punching in several zip codes just for fun.
Okay.
Yeah, my zip code in Manhattan, they said there's no chance for an LPFM.
No chance. Time. No chance for you.
Yeah, same here at my house.
Nothing?
Nada. Zero. Well, we're too close to the New York Metro.
Well, there are currently about 800 LPFMs on the air. 10 years ago, the majority of the thousands of applications that rolled in were unworkable. This time, the agency, I guess I mean the FCC, is hoping that with a little more preparation time and assistance, more of the applications that come in will actually be grantable. So does that mean they had a lot of basically untenderable applications that were had you might call prima facie defects in them?
I read an article that basically said yes, that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, there's technical things that you got to specify and spell out, and if you don't know what you're doing, if you get your instructions on how to do that from the back of a box of cereal, it's probably going to be wrong. I got to say, if this stuff were...
Well, if I had to file any applications as I have in the past, it's not easy for a commercial broadcaster. I could just imagine if you're not experienced with LPFM, what would happen. So it doesn't surprise me that the FCC received a lot of applications that weren't complete or properly submitted.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. Especially, let's face it, these are community-based organizations. They don't have the legal power of some of the bigger stations. And, Ed Kirk's right. If you don't know what you're doing, well, you can get in trouble in a real hurry and have the thing turned down on some silly technicality. It would be, it's a shame.
Well, yeah, with the commercial applications, if you submit an application, even if it's land mobile radio as well, if you don't have everything properly set up, you get tossed out and back to the bottom of the queue. So you could just imagine LPFMs. I mean, I've done a lot of work with college stations over the years and submitted applications for them. And, it takes a lot of work, and you got to double check every little thing. And it's interesting. You remember the educational consultant, what's his name? Ed Perry? The name rings a bell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it does.
I worked with him a couple of times in the early days when I was learning stuff. And it was fascinating, the things that you don't realize are required, and you read through the rule book or the U.S. code, and you're like, wait a minute, what is this? What is this section? And it's unbelievable, the little fine print that you have to make sure you do. So, and the guys at Prometheus Project, the radio project folks, I've talked to them over the years once or twice, and they seem to have their act together. They're pretty aggressive group. I have to give them credit for accomplishing what they've done so far. But I would just like to see everybody who does broadcast over the air all follow the same rules. That's all. You know what? You want to do low power FM? Fine. As long as you can fit it properly, let's go with it.
Yep.
But otherwise, if you start changing the rules and we can't be equal or even playing field, then it just gets messy. And we know that from other industries that sort of just left things to be.
Well, we know that from the AM broadcast band when they started adding stations that actually shouldn't have been there. And
yes.
Oh boy.
The perfect example. That's it. Exactly. Yes. The drop-ins like crazy that just made no sense at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure there were people that technically they made no sense, and no one could seem to get anyone to pay attention. Let alone just other stuff involved. But I did some more zip codes on Long Island though. There's a couple of places on Long Island I could stick a few LPFMs in.
And okay, what farther out? I mean, not near the city.
They claim Garden City is a place you can do something.
No kidding.
That close. And I worked in that city with radio stations that are licensed there, and I don't recall there being any real open slots that make sense. If you follow the rules, that is.
Now, like I punched in the zip code of one of my customers, and it said they could do that, and I'm sitting there going, I don't know from where they are. But of course, my customer couldn't apply for it. You have to be a government entity or a nonprofit organization that has no other broadcast interest.
Right, exactly. So. Yeah, they just when I typed in a zip code of one of the locations, it said it is very possible there may be room for as many as one new community radio station in your zip code. When I did the New York City zip code, it just said, sorry, there's nothing available.
Sorry, Charlie. Have a nice day.
Yeah. You lose. Goodbye. Read the fine print.
Well, for those watching, we have a little chat going on back and forth here in the background. Not quite sure what's going on yet. We know that they're trying to get Kirk back. Looks like Andrew's there because now my face is on the screen, so that's a good thing.
Yes, we've lost our connection via Telsat to Kirk Harnack, who is currently on location. We can't say where, and as a result, I believe the NSA is rebooting several hard drives in order to get the data back, so we could discover exactly from which endpoints we lost them, and maybe we can make a connection. So,
and let me tell you, I don't think I'd want to be the NSA looking through Kirk's hard drive. Oh my God, can you imagine?
Oh yeah, forget it. Oh please, the stories we've heard from some other folks, but we'll leave that to another day. No.
and this video he's been uploading. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Jim Armstrong's told the story. So, did I say Jim Armstrong? Sorry, I didn't mean that. I mean, Frank Foti told. Oh, did I say Frank Foti? Sorry, I didn't mean that either. But I believe we've got our connection back to the Intelsat with Kirk Harnack, and we'll find out.
Hey, there he is.
Hello, London.
Apparently, I was unreachable, but I could call you guys. It's Skype. Who knows?
Chris
it's
and I
provisioning. It wasn't properly provisioned for long distance.
There you go. Yes.
We're sorry. The person you have reached is not in service at this time. What? Oh, never mind.
Hey, we got some show and tell to do in just a minute. In just a moment, I'm going to show and tell this interesting device, and it's got a touch screen on it. All right, it's right there.
Ooh,
but I'll tell you about it in a minute. Is it? Hello. Is it? Oh, there it is. There it's on. It's not showing much of anything, but it's got a touch screen with a graph on it, and it's going to be cool. I'll show you the inside of it in just a minute. But first, you're watching This Week in Radio Tech. What's that?
I said, ain't that pretty?
Ain't that pretty? Okay. Sorry. I can't. When I'm yapping, I just can't hear what you're saying. You're watching This Week in Radio Tech, episode 172. We are dishing. We're talking about a few issues in radio. But we've got a treat coming up for you, an extra treat. Later on in the show, in fact, not too long after our sponsor message, we've got a tour for you. And I should have promoted this at the beginning of the show. I'm sorry I didn't. Thanks for hanging on this long. Today, I got to go visit with a new facility, or a facility that's getting rebuilt here in Nashville. It is going to be the home or the headquarters of country music programming for the Cumulus Media Group. So they're going to be doing programming there for various different kinds of media, internet, television, and radio. And in fact, Kix Brooks, formerly of Brooks and Dunn, the famous country group, Kix Brooks does a daily and a weekly show from there. He does American Country Countdown from this facility. And we've got a great tour. I got Gary Klein, the Director of Engineering, or VP of Engineering and IT for Cumulus, to take me on a tour through this building. Now, it's cool for engineers to watch this because it has part of the building is unfinished. In fact, the majority of the building is unfinished at this point. They're in the process of, they've got walls torn down. They're putting new walls up. You can see where a console is going to go. You can see where a stage is going to go with a studio audience. Really exciting, content creation facility. And then the other part of the building, which was phase one, they've got complete. So this is the Kix Brooks studio, and it is it's fabulous. There's also an editing suite for Kix's shows, American Country Countdown. So this is where they produce American Country Countdown, and they're going to be producing other shows there as well. So we'll have that video for you. It's about a 25-minute video that we go on this complete tour of the place, and you're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned, and you'll see that on the playback version of our show. All right? Our show is brought to you by the folks at Telos and the Telos Zip 1. Now, you've heard of the Zip 1. Yeah, I know I've yapped about it before. And it's an IP codec that does a few automatic things that are pretty cool. One of the things that it does that's pretty cool that we're letting folks know about is that it is compatible with software called Lucy Live, or also with Lucy Live Lite. This is the full-up version. Oh, sorry. This is the full-up version here of Lucy Live. If we can come back to my camera. There we go. There you go. And you may ask, well, wait a minute. How can I use a cell phone as a remote device to talk to an IP codec? Well, you can use it pretty darn well, actually. Now, the Lucy Live software, this is very popular in Europe. It's popular with a few larger news organizations. It does a number of different codecs in it. There's another version that's maybe more popular among my friends anyway, Lucy Live Lite. And Lucy Live Lite is this right here. And it does G722 codec. So, it's decent quality, 7 kilohertz of audio. It's great for voice. And it lets your cell phone be the remote end of a remote broadcast. Now, you say, well, I don't really want to talk into my cell phone to do a remote broadcast. That doesn't look so professional. Well, there are some solutions out there. Now, these are not Telos products, but I'll show them to you anyway. I kind of like this one. This is the iRig Pre. And this, I got one right here. This box it's designed to let you plug right in. This is the little 4-ring 3.5 millimeter plug. And it has an XLR input on it for your microphone. And it has phantom power available or not. There we go. I can just hold it up right here. Phantom power or not. You can turn the thing on. You can turn on phantom power if you want. And it also has a headphone jack on it. Right up there on the top. Headphone jack. And so you can plug this into your phone. Then you can hook up a professional microphone into the XLR jack, and you can be on the air with that setup and holding a professional microphone. Again, using a G722 codec in your phone. As long as you have a decent 3G or 4G signal or Wi-Fi, if your phone connects with Wi-Fi like this T-Mobile phone does, then you can do a live remote broadcast with very low latency, two-way back and forth to the radio station, and it really works well. Now, there's another one I'll show you, just to show you that these things are popular. Here's one made by Tascam. It's a little bit bigger in size. Same idea, though. There's a XLR and also a 1/4-inch connector, the kind that's a combo connector there. You can turn on phantom power or not, and it has an amplified headphone jack right there as well. You can control the volume of that and plug this same kind of connector right into the top of the phone. So it gives you a professional I/O to your phone. And there's one more option, the no electronics version. This has the 4-pin, the 4 contact connector for your phone. And then it has a headphone jack and mic. And I believe there is a capacitor in the mic circuit to stop the DC bias voltage that the phone wants to provide. So you can get rid of that for your dynamic powered phone, or your dynamic phone, which is not powered. So anyway, all those things can be your remote kit to talk back to your Zip 1. How well does it work? Well, it all depends on how good is your internet where you are. We have 4G, LTE signal in so many parts of the country now that in the U.S. anyway. And hey, I've been on 3G in Europe and in Australia, and I've been pretty impressed. I mean, it's plenty good enough bandwidth as long as you're not at a location, like a stadium where you got millions of people. And I know that's when you want to be on the air, right? Where you can go ahead and do one of these broadcasts. All you need is about 80 kilobits per second in both directions to get a good G722 signal back and forth. So if you want to, check it out. Go to our website, telos-systems.com, and look for the Telos Zip 1. There you're going to find a video that I did for a quick start, and you'll find another video that I've recently done on how to configure your Zip 1 and install and configure the software on your phone. So you can take a few minutes, watch those videos, and be fully up to date on how to do live remote broadcasts with a cell phone with decent quality, G722, and be on your way. I should tell you, let's see, if you have a Zip 1, if you have one now at your radio station, you're going to need our latest beta software, which is 1.6.22. It's available where our beta software is found, and we'll be releasing in the next 2 or 3 days the release version of that software, 1.7.0. So there's some inside baseball for you on the Zip 1. Check it out on the website telos-systems.com, and then just click on the Zip 1. You'll find out all about it. All right. Thanks to Telos for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. And we're back with Chris Tobin and Tom Ray. Now, gentlemen, before we head off to this tour video, I want to do a little show and tell here. I just got me a new router for my office, and I'm really excited to try this thing out. This is made, there we go. Let's see if I can get that in front of the camera. It'll be difficult. This is made by the folks at Microtech in Latvia. And it's a pretty impressive little router. Okay, so it's got 5 ports which are Ethernet and 5 ports which are 10100. And it's got an SFP for small form factor pluggable right there. So you could run fiber into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's got a USB port, and I'm not sure what that's for. It's got a console connector on the back. I want to show you the what's inside, though. I'm flabbergasted by how little is in there. And I was
just going to ask you if you're trying to compensate for something, but oh my God, there's nothing in there.
Yeah, I know. If you browse into this thing with your browser, or you use a program called what is it? Oh golly, I had it up here on the screen now. I've forgotten the name of it. There's a program that they have to let you configure it with a software program if you don't want to use the web interface. It was right here on my home screen, and now I don't see it. Oh well. It's just amazing what this router can do. You can set up secure tunnels to other locations. You can do so many advanced features with this router. I'm just excited to give it a try out and just see how it works for me. I'm having to read through the manuals. This is not for the faint of heart to set up. It uses Microtech's router OS. And do either of you have experience with this or something like it?
That router, no, but I've used Cisco routers, and I have the home Soho Cisco router at home that I use, and I do tunneling between several different locations with that, and it works really well. Does that box, I guess you haven't a chance to really look at the software, can you control the buffer size and throughput and whatnot on that box?
That's a great question, because I do want to minimize the buffer size and let TCP/IP do what it's supposed to do, which is occasionally drop a packet and not give me a huge buffer up when I don't necessarily want that.
Well, can you also do port mirroring and other bandwidth shaping and stuff? Because some routers, the high end ones, that's what you normally do, but Soho routers you typically can't. So I'm just curious.
I don't know. I got a feeling that you can, but I honestly don't know. Man, there's a lot of stuff you can set in this. I'll find out over the next week or so. I'm supposed to get a lesson on these from Dave Anderson, who was a guest on our show. I got this from, remember Dave Anderson, the engineer in Florida? Yeah. He uses a lot of router board from Microtech products to get IP audio to his transmitter sites. And he happens to be part owner of a company that sells these. So he's going to give me a little instruction. There's all kinds of manuals on the web. There's instructional videos, but I'm going to take advantage of my friendship with Dave ask him to help me out a little bit.
And taking a look on the web, I mean, the pricing's not bad for what that does.
Oh my gosh, guys, this thing has the list price is like $129.
Right. So the street price is got to be at least 20% lower than that.
Well, actually not. I'm told that could 129. I was happy to pay Dave's company list price for it because they told me that their margin was only about 10%. Maybe it's 12% or so. But for $129, now I realize there's not much in there. Okay, of course there's a lot of intellectual property that's gone into this and these over the years. I'm not here to sell Microtik routers. I just know that Dave Anderson and a couple other people who I really respect in routers have they really like these things. They do seem kind of lightweight in the construction, but man, I'll tell you, their performance is just amazing.
Well, you have to remember now, most like Broadcom and Cisco, the two top chip makers for routers and stuff, they've got everything down to about, I think it's one chip, depending on what type of switch you need to do, and 2 chips max. So you could do an Ethernet switch. Pretty much what you see in that box is real, and it's a good thing. It reduces heat, electrical loads, and just less chance for things to go awry. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool, some of this stuff.
Well, one of the things I like about this one is that the display on the front. It's got this little. It's about a 1.5 by 1.25 inch color OLED display, and it is a touchscreen. It. I don't know how accurate it is. You can change the scales and what you're looking at by touching it. And to me, see, this is going to be installed at a couple of my radio stations where we really depend on internet, and so. If there's something wrong and I need for a disc jockey to go look at this thing, go look at the router. The ones we're getting there are, I think they're red color, and they're going to mount on the wall because they have a couple of Wi-Fi antennas on them. This one doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi hotspot, but the others do. And they can look at the screen and tell me, well, there's a whole lot of stuff going on, or no, there's just a red line across the bottom. Well, that might be able to give us a little bit of a clue as to what's going on. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll have more of a report for you in the maybe next show or the show after. And I'll tell you how it works. I'm just excited about it because I finally got one. All right, guys. So building a new station. Tom, you did this a few years ago. You had carpenters and drywall and carpet and plans that probably had to change through the process.
Oh, gee, you met our organization, did you?
Yeah. And Chris Topin, you've been part of a move here in the last few years as well. When Winds has moved.
Yes, the 6-station CBS move. Yeah, it was a doozy.
Yeah. So we're about to watch a video now, and so the three of us will be saying goodbye. We're going to watch the video on the playback as well. You're about to see Gary Klein. And tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and narrate about the first 20 seconds of the video. This is going to be important to put my voice over the beginning of the video. This is the new facility for Nash. They're calling it Nash. It's a brand of Cumulus. And when Cumulus bought Citadel, they got the Citadel building in Nashville. It used to house a couple of radio stations and the Titans radio network. And it's on a historic piece of land. The land is where Corporal General somebody Ryman, the guy who they named the Ryman Auditorium after, where the Grand Ole Opry started, it was his house. It was his property. His house was on this property. So there's a historical marker on the property, and we pan the camera around and see there's the building, known as the Citadel building was, and soon to be known as the Nash building in Nashville. And here's Gary Klein.
Okay, so let's take a tour of our Nash FM facility. We have a couple of different phases. This is phase 2, which is under construction but not yet done yet. Down this hallway, on the left-hand side, this particular area, which happened to be 4 different offices or quadrants with cubicles, has been torn apart. And that area there now will become an open collaborative seating area where staff members, researchers, and people like that can sit. All of these rooms on the right-hand side are offices that are being cleaned up, repainted, recarpeted, and getting updated furniture in them, new ceiling tile, new electrical, and those offices will house, our various staff members, affiliate relations, folks like that work on stuff. This room here was a conference room. Prior to being a conference room, it was actually a market manager's office. So it has a couple of interesting features in it that we're going to take advantage of, which I'll show you in a second. But as part of the green room project and decorating it, which we're still in the process of doing and designing, we did know and we did ask and we did get permission from Kix Brooks to use the couch that he had in one of his older previous broadcast studios. That couch was so big that we had to take the door frame out to get it in. In fact, in the previous studio, in another building, they had to take the window out to get it in. So Kix said that he spent more money on windows and door removal to move this couch around than probably the couch itself. So that's the first piece of furniture we finally got in here. This will be a wet bar with cabinetry, a sonic ice machine, because I'm told that that's real big here in Nashville. Every recording artist likes their sonic ice. A sonic ice. Yep. This is going to be a private bathroom, private wet bar, and then this will be decorated and carpeted and pictures and televisions and LCDs on the wall, and a place where artists can hang out before they go into the live performance area, which we'll see in a few minutes. So,
like a green room for the live.
It's a green room. It's exactly. It is a green room.
All right.
Okay.
And then sit where Kix Brooks has put his bottom.
You exactly can sit there. If you come over here and go sit in our green room. Anybody watching this show can make a request. This is all offices here on the right-hand side for the most part until we get to the end of the hallway, which we'll look at. So these, like the other offices we just saw, are getting painted, carpeted, new ceiling tile. They're going to be black tiles, new lighting, and they'll look fresh and new, okay? This here is a look into the control room for the live performance space. This used to be a copy room. We took the wall out, we expanded it, and we'll show the document that shows what everything will look like in this room when it's finished. But in essence, this will have a wraparound custom piece of broadcast furniture which will hold our audio board, our video, and our lighting control systems. We're putting in a professional video system that you would see. In fact, I think it's the one that runs NBC Nightly News. So we're buying a professional video graphics packaging system, asset management and storage, Axia digital console. In fact, I think we're buying 2 Axia frames because we need more faders than the largest Axia console will hold. So all these cutouts, these are for electrical. So they're for electrical, they're for audio, they're for data. And if you look over at the stage area, which isn't closed yet because we just had electrical inspection yesterday, which we passed, by the way, and so now they'll begin to close it up. Those floor boxes will hold all the XLRs, all the HD SDI cables, all of the data, all of the electrical that goes under the floor for the artist to plug in and for monitoring and for video and everything else. So there won't be any cable runs from the stage into the control room. Pretty much standard stuff that you might expect. This will obviously be a window. That back wall will be a slotted, it was actually glass when we took it out from the old configuration. This used to be a large office, and that is going to be a slot wall with lighting that you can change the color on. And then this will be a hardwood floor that we're walking on. Of course, it's not covered yet. And then back there, there'll be an audience. We can fit easily 14 or 15 people in here. The seating will be lounge chairs and other comfortable seating, not stadium or baseball park seating, but very comfortable lounge chairs with some lounge tables, warm colors. Everything is being color coordinated. We have an interior designer and decorator specifically that's working with us on all this. The wall to the left will be a brick wall, real brick. The ceilings will be treated acoustically. That will be where the audience enters, that double door down there. But what will cover that once the audience in is a very heavy drape that will be pulled across, which is part of the acoustical plan for the room. There'll be gobos on the walls with the logo. There'll be flat screen monitors behind the talent or band. So if Keith Urban is in here doing an acoustical performance, his picture will flash behind him and around him, much like you probably see on TV today or on an awards performance.
Talk about the conduits.
The conduits and the boxes on the floor. Well, I just mentioned that the boxes on the floor are going to hold all the audio and video and data and electrical. We're working with Clare Brothers, who that company actually has 2 divisions. They have the professional sound division that most people watching this podcast probably have heard of. They do all those big concerts that you go to. They have another division that does audio-video design for broadcast and maybe more so recording studios, large churches, you name it, they do it. And so we're working with those folks to do some of the camera and audio wiring for the room, and also the lighting, which they know very well, lighting control systems. There'll be a Crestron control system that'll control all of the monitors and all of the LCDs that we use for graphics and for video. And if you look up at the ceiling, you can't see it because it's not there yet, but there will be a 2-inch pipe grid mounted just below these pieces of conduit that you see in the HVAC ducts. And that will hold the lighting grid, cameras that are not mounted on the wall, and all of the flat screen monitors. So there'll be monitors facing performers and monitors facing the audience so that they can see what's going on. We can throw internet or graphics or even television up there. It'll also hold the applause sign, which is standard fare. It'll be a nice, cozy, small studio with great acoustics. The grid will also hold the PA system, which Claire Brothers is designing. We're using their subs and their custom designed speaker system. I told them that this room, has to sound good. I want it to sound good. No surprise, as an engineer, a pet peeve of mine. I want it to sound wonderful when you're sitting in here and for the experience to be a great one. So one other feature I'll mention before we leave this room, or two features rather. One is that all the cameras will be permanently mounted either to the wall or to the ceiling grid, each with a specific purpose, whether it's to catch the audience or catch various performers if we have a 3, 4, 5-piece group on stage. These cameras are all remote controlled, pan, tilt, zoom, so we don't have to have a slew of camera operators in here or take any room out of this cozy space for people to do that. And the other thing is, with the graphics and video switching package that we're using, there's a piece of software they have that goes with it. It will automatically switch camera angles based on who's talking or singing into a mic at that point in time. Jury's out whether we will use that full time or we'll manually switch on our own. But it's interesting to note that has that. That's something that we haven't seen widespread. And then as you go down this hallway, this cutout here was a late change in the game plan, and that is so that the furniture in the room or anything that we do in the room can come in and out of these double doors and clear the wall. So this will turn into some kind of alcove and coat closet, and it has a couple of can lights that'll light up. We'll probably put our logo up on this wall, so as audience cast members come through the hallway and wait to go in or go into the room, they'll see the logo, and it'll look pretty. This down here will become a conference room, because if you remember when I talked about the green room, I said, well, that was a conference room prior. Well, it was. So we're going to turn it into a green room, so now we need another room to become a conference room. This room was 2 offices. The wall came out, and it'll get fixed up, painted, carpeted. That's the generator for the building, and I think everybody watching this knows what that generator's here for.
I was looking at the stadium.
The stadium's over there. We didn't mention it, but this facility was a radio station facility holding a couple of stations that Citadel owned, WGFX and WKDF, and also the Titans Radio Network. This room here will become a private green room, makeup room for artists and talent and people like that need a secondary room. So we may put some makeup mirrors in here. This would be more the room where you come to get ready for a performance versus the green room over at the other side where you're hanging out. That's the best way I can describe it. Then down this hallway are more offices. And to your right is going to be the new kitchen. There was a very small kitchen in the building. It went to where that tile stops on the floor and where those vending machines are. We took out 3 offices and we've expanded this because based on the number of audience members we may have for a performance, the number of staff members working for Cumulus that will be in this building, and any other guests we may have, we decided that we needed a bigger kitchen. There'll be a big kitchen wall unit on that on that wall right there that'll house, refrigerators, disposals, microwaves, storage, like you might see in a big kitchen somewhere. This area here will have bench seating, really nice, funky seating that our designers chose, and that's that. Now, the other interesting feature of the building that we noticed when we were doing initial walkthroughs was this balcony, and I'll say balcony, but I guess patio, outside. This patio will become our outdoor barbecue area. But if you're going to make a patio an outdoor barbecue area, you need a door so you can get out there. So we put a door in last week, and that is the as yet unpainted and without glass installed door in progress, which will go out to the patio area. So that's the phase 2 tour. Now let's take a walk over to phase 1, which we completed about 6 weeks ago, and then that'll give you a great idea of what this space is going to look like in the next 7 or 8 weeks when we're all done and finished with it. So this piece of plastic here separates phase 2 from phase 1. Phase 1's already completed. Phase 1 looked just like phase 2, even worse when we started, by the way. So this is the new lobby area and hangout area for guests and people that come to visit our building. All of the wallpapering, carpet, ceiling, electrical, data, everything you see is all brand new. We gutted down to the concrete floors. All the drywall was removed, or at least most of it. Some of the brickwork was redone. Walls were taken out. Things were restructured. So this looks quite a bit different than when we started, both physically, but then also from obviously an interior decorating and design standpoint. That area right there is getting some pendant lights and will have a nice logo for the Nash brand in the front. It'll be made out of metal. It's on order. We're just waiting for it. These are a couple of studios that were left over from the radio broadcast facility. We put new flooring in, new wall treatment, soundproof treatment, new ceilings, grid, lighting, new air conditioning control. The windows are original. We repainted and cleaned them. The doors are original, but we put new hardware on them and we cleaned them up so they look almost new. And it's hidden, but there's a trough under this floor with cabling in it. So if we put some furniture in here or put some broadcast activity in here with technical, we obviously have what we need. We have the infrastructure. All of this artwork was done by Kix Brooks' daughter. She's very good at it. These are just tables for people to hang out before they go into the Kix Brooks studio. Phase 1 was really designed mostly around Kix Brooks and his show. He has a show he does every night, overnight, throughout the country on many, many radio stations. And then he's got a countdown show that airs every week on over 300 radio stations. So this is really the Kix Brooks wing, even though I call it Phase 1. And we have several studios in this area, not all of which are yet hooked up and set up with equipment, but this one is that I'm about to show you. It's his main studio, and we'll walk you through it. All of this artwork is all of Kix and all of Ronnie and all of the things that they did. A lot of this, or really all of it, was stuff he had in his personal collection. All right, so this is the beginning of the Phase 1 technical area. This is a green room, engineering control room area where we ingest all of the audio that comes out of the Kix broadcast and interview studio, and where the editing is done and the uploading to the network from which it travels throughout the country via satellite and also via FTP. All of this furniture is custom broadcast furniture built by OmniRax. We don't have a traditional broadcast console in here because for the work that they do in this room, which is mostly offline, meaning we don't do live to air, we do live to edit to air. The Mackie board is exactly what Lonnie, who's sitting here, wanted. We use Sadie for editing, which is a company out of the United Kingdom. And we have all of the telephone and ISDN capability here that you might expect. The ISDN is used when Kix is on the road from another location. He tours and performs, as everybody knows, throughout these great United States. And so when he does and he needs to do his show remotely, we have gear to take him and ingest him. The phone system, of course, to interview artists that can't make it here in person. The equipment in the rack and everything that we have here, it's all on wheels. It can pull out. We can get behind it. All of the wiring, which you'll see inside his studio, terminates in this room. And these, some people may be laughing that we've got a patch panel, but with all of the microphone inputs and audio line level outputs that we have, the quickest, simplest, most efficient way to route those signals was with a small patch panel. Pretty much everything we use every day is already normaled, direct, and then occasionally when we have to change something around, one patch cable and we're done. I guess we kept it simple here in this room. And so these couches and all of these furnishings are all brand new. The whole room is new. That's a real wood floor we're standing on. And this is where people can hang out. Again, if an artist comes in and they have their so-called entourage, they can do that. This is a little wet bar. In the green room and those other areas where I pointed out we would do cabinetry, like in the kitchen or the wet bar in the green room, it'll be similar style and quality to what you see here. This is a redone bathroom. I mentioned that we were going to redo bathrooms. It'll probably look something similar in terms of design and quality of materials. This is Kix's room. Ho-ho. And so this room used to be the Titan's control room, but it had other walls and windows, and it was configured physically very much differently than what you see now, other than the outer walls and the windows, which are hidden by the curtains. This wall here is brand new that you're pointing at. The window is brand new, although it matches the other windows. The floor is real hardwood floor, and all of these furnishings that you see, the couches and the chairs and the custom cabinetry, the wall coverings, the lighting, all of that was bought for this project and very carefully coordinated to match, to fit well. We do video shoots here regularly of the artists. You can find that on Kix's website or the American Country Countdown website. Many of what you see now will probably be from the old studio. I don't know if they have any up yet from the new studio, but they will, and it will be this room. And so you're aiming at some of the mics and some of the furniture. If you come around here and you look at the floor, this is an example of what I was talking about and what we're going to be doing in the Phase 2 television studio. We have floor boxes here that, let's see, you can't really see in there, but they have XLRs, video, SDI, SDHDI, I'm sorry, not SD, SDI, video, coax. Here's a better example of a plate that you can see here. They're floor versions of this, a little bit more condensed and smaller, but you have enough XLR data and video cabling to do whatever you need. And so we have boxes on this wall, behind that curtain over there, and then also this wall here, and then under the floor here under the desk, and then there's another one under that carpet that's hidden, and we only put that in because we thought if we ever reverse the furniture in the room or change the furniture down the road, we may need it. And obviously going back in and putting a floor box in later would be, I don't want to say impossible, but certainly a real big pain. This is where Kix sits and does a lot of business. These televisions have HD DirecTV boxes assigned to them. Each one has their own. That screen there has Apple TV, so he can come in here and hold a meeting with his crew and pull up his laptop or iPhone, iPad video and show it on the screen. Macs, for the engineers that are watching that say, well, I don't think a Mac will do Apple TV. The software you can get that allows it to do it. For anybody that's watching and knows how Apple TV works, they might be saying, well, that's not right. Well, it can be done. There was a steel column in the room that structurally could not be removed without great expense, so we wrapped it and made it fit in the room. And so if I didn't tell you, you might not know, but there's a column behind there, and that's why that column is wrapped and is there. If you look behind the curtains, we have double pane windows. You can see downtown. And there's also glass and windows behind the other curtain. Typically, we leave them closed. Keeps the room cooler. And the lighting looks sexier, as we say. In the ceiling in the room, we gutted everything. This is all new HVAC. That black coating is an acoustical coating. or actually it wasn't black, we painted it black, but there's an acoustical coating up there that then got painted black, and then there's a grid up there, and we have electrical circuits up in there that are controlled by our dimmer panel, and so if you look at that light there, they can bring that and other lights into the room when they do their video shoots. They can bring their cameras in, they can plug them into that box or the box behind the couch or on that wall, and they can feed our control room where we can do video switching, audio recording, and whatnot. We use a Furman headphone amp system here to distribute audio. And then what will happen is the artists will just sit around here, they'll get relaxed, they'll feel relaxed, and they do great interviews. The acoustics in the room are rather good. Yeah. And for those that don't know, Kix owns a vineyard called Arrington, and that's some of his stuff and his awards and some other things that he considers to be personal and of value to him, he brings in, and this is his place where he can hold. Just a bit of trivia, some people come in and they look at that picture and say, why is there a picture of Rolling Stones there? Because Kix toured with the Rolling Stones back a few years ago, and they gave that to him.
Huh. Nice. That room is so comfortable. It's really nice.
It is.
I see there's one kind of out-of-place piece of lighting up there. What is that used for?
Like I said a moment ago, that's for video.
Okay.
And typically when Kix isn't interviewing somebody and he's just in here voicing audio for his nightly or weekly radio countdown show, he likes to sit right here, right in front of this mic. His script or whatever else he needs is in front of him, and he does it right from there. I think he feels that he sounds better when he's standing or sitting on a stool than at the desk. And so that's what he does, and that's where he likes to do it. And then Lonnie has direct sight, line of sight, and off they go. Then if you walk out these doors, or this door, if you turn to your right, that's the entranceway that we stood in front of a few minutes ago with the glass etched logos. This hallway down here is what I like to think of as our edit suite area. These were small studios back when this was a live radio facility. I felt that they were not big enough to become offices, but rather workspaces. So I put countertops in each of these rooms, wraparound countertops with some file drawers. This is just artwork, by the way, that's going to get hung on the walls throughout these edit studios, and we just haven't gotten to it yet, because this is still fairly fresh and new, and although the folks watching can't smell it, imagine the smell of new paint, new carpet, and that literally, really, truly is what we're smelling right now. And so these rooms will become video and audio workstation edit rooms, research and production rooms, whatever fits a job where you sit in front, a counter, you have some filing cabinets, and you just need lots of space to spread out. If you show down there, I have enough data and cabling in each of these rooms to power, small studios. All of the outlets in these rooms were changed to quad outlets so that we can have enough power to plug in as many computers and small pieces of gear as we need to. Again, another small room that looks just like the others, and one larger edit room or production room, whatever you want to call it, that hasn't been moved into yet, but will certainly serve the folks nicely that need to do work in here. As the headquarters for our Nash brand, as you can imagine, as the brand continues to grow and we continue to syndicate programming and feed programming around the country, whether it be web, internet, audio or video, whatever form of media you choose, there's going to be growth, and there's going to be a need for housing people in this space with different job functions. So I sort of thought ahead for the next couple of years, and that's why you may see a room that isn't completely filled with people yet, but I know someday, hopefully, will be. Anybody designing a facility knows that you need to think like that. This is another previous radio studio which we cleaned up, new floor, new walls, new ceiling. In this room, we haven't tucked the cables back into the trough, but in the other room where I said we did have a trough, but you didn't see any cables because they were tucked in, this is actually a great way for folks to see what we've got in there. There's a little bit of studio hub, standard 5E cabling, as well as electrical. All of the electrical for key technical areas goes through a central UPS and is also backed up by generator. And then through this door, we're back out to the lobby. And that is phase 1. The rack room, by the way, is one last mention. That floor is going to be blacked out. We're going to change the floor to be black so that it blends in, it doesn't stand out as much. We're still in the process of swapping out some of the equipment that was used for radio broadcast and installing more of the gear that we need for video switching and centralized servers for audio and video storage and other things that we need to do. So we're not done with that yet, but we're certainly in progress.
Hey, I want to thank Gary Klein for taking us on that tour. It's a beautiful facility, and as you can see, there's plenty more to come. We're going to check back in with Gary in a few weeks, and in fact, Gary has invited the Torch Show to come in and do a show from the Kix Brooks studio. He said maybe we could get Kix to stop by and just say hello to us as well. That would be really interesting, I think, to hear from a big-name talent. I mean, the host of American Country Countdown, Kix Brooks, to come and talk to us for a few minutes about what's important to a talent in terms of what he gets from an engineer, what he has to hear, and what he needs to be comfortable. So I think it's going to be interesting. Hey, we're out of time for this show. Thanks very much to Telos and the Telos Zip 1 for sponsoring the show. And let's say goodbye to our co-hosts. First of all, from the Hudson Valley of New York, the inimitable Tom Ray. Tom, thanks for being with us.
Kirk, if you go on that tour, to make sure you wear your boots, because you don't know what you might be kicking.
yeah. Or some boot scooting.
You do know what you get when you play a country record backwards, don't you?
Something about your wife back and your dog.
Get your wife back, get your house back, get your dog back, get your truck back.
Probably get out of jail too. And also thanks to our other co-host, the best dressed engineer in radio from the studio at GFQ, Chris Tobin. Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, Kirk. Tom, it was good seeing you today. Let's hope we get together again. And that video is going to be good stuff, so hope everybody enjoys it. Or enjoyed it.
All right. And we'll be back at the at that facility if Gary Klein lets us back in. We'll probably be talking to Gary and a local engineer, Zach Harper, and maybe we can get Mark Lamuth there if he's on site. These are engineers that have been building out this facility, so it's going to be cool to be back in there and relaxing in the beautiful Kix Brooks studio that you just saw. Hey, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.
That's all the bandwidth we can pill for this week. Another tort has propagated, and all the transmitters and audio equipment live happily ever after, thanks to the handsome engineer and his kind, benevolent care. We'll be back next week.
Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
This Week in Radio Tech. Subscribe to iTunes and you'll never miss a show. Search for This Week in Radio Tech in the iTunes Store. Soliciting is strictly encouraged. If you liked today's show, tell a friend. If you didn't like it, we were never here. Kirk Harnack's wardrobe provided by the Salvation Army and the Red Cross Disaster Relief Services. Hair and makeup provided by Penelope Garcia Hernandez Weinberg.
He's unique, wouldn't you say?
I just want to get it over with.
This ends this transmission. Tango, Whiskey, India, Romeo, Tango. Signing off. Okay.